Hello, Dosto. This is Vikas. Here in this series, let's talk about what we are going to learn. So this first episode is mostly about agenda, like what we are going to learn. Let's see things we will going to cover in this series. This series is mostly about data scrapping. So first of all, definitely we have to learn like what is data scrapping and types of data scrapping. So there are mostly two types of data scrapping we will cover in this series, and we will learn these web scrapping and application scrapping in different episodes. Then we will learn like what are the techniques we use for the data scrapping. There are mostly four techniques. There are definitely more than that, but mostly we will cover like these four techniques, and based on that, it is quite easy to understand all other techniques. So first technique is like basically your string scrapping. This is most of the time, like if you have ever heard about scrapping. So screen scrapping, where like browser automation is the most common types of data scrapping, or maybe website web scrapping you can assume. But what if you wanted to scrap like data from the application? So for that we have some tools. Using that we can automate our mobile device and then scrap the data from the application. But as this is the common one, then it is also the slowest one. So it is like not a good solution to like go with screen scrapping almost every time. Like whenever we don't have any option at the end, we only go with the screen scrapping at that time. I will definitely teach you like what are the orders through which we should go. So second comes HTML scrapping. HTML scrapping is the like scrapping technique where like we download the HTML content and then parse it using tools like Cheer.io, Beautiful Soup, and then based on like those parsing, we extract the required data we wanted. Then comes our API scrapping. API scrapping is the technique where we try to analyze the network request and try to find a REST API or maybe GraphQL API, and then replicating that APIs in our Python or maybe Node.js code base. This is like one of the best, you can say, scrapping techniques. One of why we I call it as a best. It is the fastest one and the most stable one. So why it is a stable one? The reason being, most of them see HTML structure or maybe like application structure can change anytime. Website structure, application structure can change anytime. But API structure doesn't change or like most often. This change like maybe 6 months, 1 year. So you can just assume once you have a scrap the data using API scrapping, you are free to go. You don't have to make any changes for 6 months or maybe 1 year. See, it might be possible where you may have to do the changes after 2 days, but once after two changes, it is quite possible you don't have to make any changes after 6 or 7 months. Then the last one comes a WebSocket scrapping. WebSocket API is like your similar one, similar to API scrapping. It is also the faster one, but we use this only when we find out a website or maybe application is sending a WebSocket request rather than having a REST APIs or maybe GraphQL APIs. So this is not like much common in scenario, but there are like some websites I have noticed in the past which actually use the web sockets rather than like API scrapping, and most of the chat applications actually use website socket itself, since it is a real-time communication tool. We will learn like how we can scrap the data in the series itself. Then let's talk about like common data scrapping tools we will be going to use in this series. There are like you can say mainly eight different tools we are going to use in this particular series, and these are the most common tools. Definitely, like see, in some cases you may use similar tool with the different name. So for first one is Chrome Developer Tool. Some of the people may use like Firefox Developer Tool, but here in this is I will mostly cover Chrome Developer Tools. So Chrome Developer Tools is like comes inbuilt with the Chrome browser, so you don't have to worry about, you don't have to download anything at all if you have a Chrome browser. So like why do we use that? Like what we are going to do with that? We will cover that later on in the series. Selenium or Puppeteer. Chrome Developer Tool is good for like analyzing the website, but like if you want to automate the Chrome browser, then like it's not a good tool. We rather use Selenium or Puppeteer for automating the browser. We can even automate the Firefox browser or other browsers using Selenium or Puppeteer. Then comes a FPM with UI Automator 2 driver. UI Automator 2 is basically a driver, and FPM is the main tool. Uh, Definitely, using Selenium or Proficient, we can automate the browser. But what if you wanted to automate the Android device? For that, we have an AppM with the UI Automator 2. Using AppM also, you can automate the Chrome browser also, but I will be not covering that much. I will be rather using Selenium or Puppeteer for automating the like you can say browser. Then comes the HTTP toolkit. HTTP toolkit is basically a tool we use to analyze the network calls, including that of WebSocket. So, like for example, the website which we wanted to scrap or the application which we wanted to scrap, uh, what type of network request they are sending and like what type of WebSocket request they are sending, we will analyze that all using HTTP toolkit itself. Then comes the Axios or request model. Once we have analyzed the network request, definitely we have to replicate that in our like process like Node.js or maybe Python process or any other like programming language you wanted to cover. So Axios is basically for Node.js for sending HTML requests. Request is for Python for sending HTML, HTTP requests or there are like some other tools also for sending web service requests. We will cover that later on the series. But if you are using any other programming language, like if you are using C++, then you might be using Perl. There are like others. I will be not covering that much, but you can use as per your requirements. Then we have a chair IO or beautiful soup. Chair beautiful soup is basically if you wanted to scrap the data using HTML scrapping. So you have downloaded the HTML content. Now you have to pass that content and extract the data. For that we use CRI or beautiful soup. Then we have a rooted device. These like about tool for mostly web scraping. But if you wanted to do like application scraping, then rooted device is a must. Uh, I am here not talking about the jailbreak device for iOS. I will be not covering how to scrap the data from the iOS, as most of the applications already have like you can say application for like Android. So I will be mostly covering the Android, you can say scrapping the data from the Android device. But similar thing is like true for iOS also. So if you have a jailbreak device, that is also not a problem. Jailbreak iOS device. But here I will be mostly talking about rooted device, rooted Android device. Then we have a Frida. Frida is basically a like tool which you might have here and might not be here. So Frida is basically a dynamic instrumentation tool. Now you must be thinking what is dynamic instrumentation. So dynamic instrumentation is basically means like injecting our custom script in the running process. So running process here means, for example, you are using WhatsApp, you are chatting with someone, and now I wanted to understand what internally WhatsApp is doing for saying for like chatting. So we can actually inject our custom script inside the chat process of the WhatsApp, and we can analyze what type of encryption they are using, what is the encryption key they are using, and many other things we can do using Frida itself. Frida is like most strongest tool we have like for the Android device, but definitely it needed a rooted device. So if you don't have a rooted device, so I would not suggest you to use Frida. You can definitely use, but like it is like become tough, really tough to use Frida in non-rooted device. Then let's talk about challenges and how we are going to bypass those challenges. We will cover all these in our series. Like definitely, this series is going to be a very long series. If I'm not wrong, it may have like some 30 to 40 episodes, and it may have a more than 50 episodes also, including the examples on many other things. So we will cover like how we can bypass these challenges and other things in the series itself. So when we come talk about challenges, so there are mostly like 5 or 6 different types of challenges. There can be more, but I will be mostly covering these types of challenges. So first and second challenges are mostly like almost same. IP restriction. So IP restriction is basically like website or API blocking your IP range. And like the question comes like why should they block your IP range? So for example, if you are doing any abnormal activity, they can only block your IP. But if they wanted to block you based on your region, based on like for example you are in India, based on you are in Thailand or maybe other countries, so they can block you based on like your city, country, state, regional restriction basically. So IP restriction is regional restriction is almost same, but it may differ like slight, you can say. Then comes the activity based restriction. Activity-based restriction is basically website or application blocking you based on your activity. As I mentioned, if you are doing any abnormal activity, they can block your IP. But there are like some other parameters also through which they can actually, even though you change the IP, but they can still block you. Like they can block your account or maybe they can block something else. Then you can't use that website after that. We will cover like how we can bypass these things later on the series. So then comes the captcha decision. Captcha is basically, for example, if you have filled some form in the government website or maybe some websites, you might have seen they have Google reCAPTCHA, or maybe they have a like a Cloudflare captcha, or maybe they just show you some random numbers and then tell you like just write these numbers. So those are like captcha, and like we can easily bypass those using third-party tools. There is like most common tool that is two captcha. We will learn those things like how we will bypass those in the series itself. Then comes a signature and encrypted headers. Signature encrypted or maybe fingerprint headers, whatever you can call it. So the point is like most of the time, website or applications or maybe API may generate like signature or maybe fingerprint based on like some of the parameters you are passing. For example, they can also pass a timestamp. Based on timestamp and your other like parameters, they can generate one encrypted string or maybe like for example hash string, and they can also pass that with the headers. Now, what they will do, they will calculate that timestamp plus those parameters and the hash. If they are getting that as a same, it means like request is valid. If they are not getting that as a same, it means request is invalid and some bot they have related some bots. So they can block you if you are not passing those headers and encrypted signature. But while scrapping your parameter may change every time. So you definitely have to understand how they are generating that headers. We will cover like how we can extract that you can say algorithm. See, for most of the website they may use like third-party tools like Akamai, Imperva for like generating those signatures. Then the algorithm like is like you can say same for all the website. But if the website is using custom, so you have to find out how they're like generating that. I will show you some examples, some common examples like how we can see how we can like find out the algorithm. But for some website, it may be quite complex to find out this. But definitely we will see like and we you can also comment like what kind of website or it is. We can like do it like in a group. Then comes a WAF. WAF is basically your firewall. Firewalls is basically if you're see as a user, if you're sending thousands or 10,000 requests at the same time, so then in that case they will block your IP. So these things is like not these are like one common thing, but there are like many different uh, like detection they may have. But it is like not easy to like implement our own internal system. So what websites do, they utilize the third party services like Cloudflare, Akamai, Imperva, AWS for WAF. So we will see like how we can bypass those third-party bot detection tools later on in the series. So this is the end of this agenda series. You might have seen, you might have like seen what all we are going to cover in this series. And I already, as I already mentioned, this series will be going to be a very long. but you can definitely skip many you can say episodes if you're just if you already know most of these things, right? If you just wanted to understand how we will bypass Cloudflare, you can definitely visit that particular episode rather than covering all the episodes. But if you're new in the scrapping, I would rather not suggest you to skip any episode at all. I will be mostly covering a small to small details about like in the examples itself. I may cover like one example, but I may show you some 10 different examples. So we make sure to like pay attention on like in the series, and definitely if you have if you have a doubt or anything like that, you can definitely comments in the chat in the like video itself. I will try to cover that. I will try to solve that maybe like problem or anything like that. And if that is like that needed a like complete different episode, I will try to make the episode also. Oh, I hope like you guys have like definitely I may have bored you, but this is all what we are going to cover in this series. Thanks. See you in the next lecture. Bye then, guys. Bye.